Hello and welcome to our introduction to Bookrata. Today I just want to walk you through the basic features and website. So this is what you can get with a free account and explain what the system does and how it works a little bit. So go to bookrata.com to start out with, and you'll want to create an account, accept cookies there. So let's create an account. All right. Now it'll want our full name. So let's go with Testy Testosterson. Gotta make sure I spell that right. And then enter the password you want to use. Repeat it. And create an account. It is going to send an email to that email address to verify your account. So I'm going to check that quickly here. All right, we've got our verification code. See, that came very quickly. Okay, so we are in. Now, first thing that happens is you're going to get a welcome screen and it'll walk you through the website a little bit. So let's do that. So first it shows you that here is where you browse your books in my library. Second, if you want to request a book, do it here. If you want to purchase credits or ratas to request new books, do it here and manage your account there. All right, so let's get started. First of all, let's talk about what Bookrata does and what it is and how it works. So let's go to Rating Guide. And anyone can go here and look through it. So it talks about the issues that Bookrata solves, why we decided to build Bookrata, what it does. Basically, we use an algorithm for every book, so every rating is objective, every rating is consistent, it all looks the same. You can tell at a glance what kind of content you're getting in the book. Right now, if you go to any website to look at user ratings or user reviews, it's all opinion. I love it, I hate it, this is why, da-da-da, and it doesn't tell you much unless you scan through hundreds and sometimes thousands of reviews to find the information you want. This puts it all right there, right in front of you. So we break down our rating into 6 categories: language, sexuality, violence, wellness, LGBTQ+, and religion. And in each category, there are 5 tiers. So 6 categories with 5 tiers each is over 15,000 permutations. So you really can find the books with the content that you want to consume. So let's walk through what the tiers mean. And basically there are 2 potential meanings based on depending on the category. It's either that it has a low amount of that content, or the content it has is universal for tier 1, so appropriate for everyone. Either it doesn't exist, low amount, or universal. And then we go up from there. So tier 2, it's either has a little bit of that content, or the content it has is mild. 3 has some, or it's moderate. 4 is it has more, so you're going to find it more throughout the book, or what it does have is more explicit or in your face or graphic. And then 5 is the most, so it's all throughout the book and the content is explicit and gratuitous, and basically it's got a lot, and what it has is only for very mature audiences that want that kind of content. So we've got 1 to 5. They're also all color coded so that you can see everything you need to see at a glance. So let's go back to our home page. Okay, so we're back on the home page. It'll show you the books that you recently viewed so that you can keep track of those, which is handy. But let's look at the tier samples so that you can get an idea of what those different tiers mean. So tier 1 is easy. It means there's either no content or content that is appropriate for everyone. So let's look at a tier 2. This is the Christmas Stars. Overall rating is a tier 2. And here you can see at a glance why it's rated a tier 2. You can easily see it from the words, from the colors, and from the boxes. All right, so tier 2 in sex. Why? Because there is a romance in the book, and there's some kissing and holding hands and crushes and stuff like that. So it's a tier 2. Nothing beyond that. Explains it right here. Religion is also a tier 2 because the characters are religious and they pray, and there's talk about faith and prayer and God. So it is a tier 2. So the way we come up with the overall ranking is taking the top 2 highest tiers, which is tier 2, and taking the average, which is a 2. So the reason we do it that way, we'll go back here and look at a tier 3. So the reason we do it that way is because if you have, say, a tier 4 in violence and a tier 4 in language, but everything else is a tier 1, if we averaged everything together, those tier 1s would pull down the overall average and give you a false sense of the content in the book. You'll think has less content than it actually does. So we strip away those low ratings and we only use the top 2 highest ratings, and the average of those 2 ratings is your overall average. So if you have tier 4 violence and tier 5 language, the average is 4.5. That will be your overall rating. And we tested a bunch of different ways to do that, and this is the way that gives you the most accurate picture of the content that is in the book. So let's look at a tier 4. We'll look at Mockingjay. It's a book most people are familiar with. So it's tier 4 because of wellness and violence. So language is a tier 3 because it does have some profanity, but they are words that are considered more moderate. So those are a tier 3. Violence, pretty obvious in this book. There's a lot of, the whole thing is about violence. It's about killing each other. So there's frequent and graphic depictions, but they're not so graphic or gratuitous to put it in a 5. And then wellness is a tier 4 because there's a lot of mental health struggles that are portrayed in the book. There's trauma, depression, guilt. There's brainwashing. So in the mental health category, that bumps it up to a tier 4. So you can see here at a glance that there's really no sex. There's some crushes and some attraction and stuff, but it's really wellness and violence that put it up to a tier 4. Okay, so now let's do a tier 5 so you can kind of see what that looks like. And if you want to skip over this, you're welcome to. So in this book here, we've got tier 5 in language, tier 5 in sex, and tier 5 in violence. So the top 2 are 5, makes the average a 5. So let's look at language. We try to star out the words, but if you're like me, your brain sees them anyway. So that's why you have to click on it. It talks about the frequency. So those words, if they're just once or twice, it would probably be a tier 4, but because they're throughout the book, they're very frequent, bumps it up to a tier 5. And this is another great example of why frequency and severity are both used to define the tiers. This one has frequent and explicit sexual scenes, so that's why it's a tier 5 in sex. Violence, frequent graphic depictions of violence, so violence throughout. If it was maybe 1 or 2 scenes, it would probably be more of a 4. Religion is a 4 because it has, in the religion category, it goes kind of from positive to negative portrayals, so that you can make the best decisions you want to make. But this has negative depictions of fallen angels, use of dark magic in a pagan-like goddess figure. So there are religious themes, but that puts it into a tier 4. And again, overall tier of 5. So I think I have a 0.5 in here. So let's look at that. All right, so this one is a 3.5. So you can see that we do the 0.5 scale because violence is a 4, but language is a 3. So our average is 3.5. Some graphic scenes, but they're infrequent. They're not pervasive throughout the book. So that puts it at a 4. And then it has tier 3 level words, which puts language at a 3. So you really get used to the system very quickly, which is the point, and you can know kind of at a glance what might be in these books. And you can also make decisions for yourself or your kids. You may be okay with a tier 4 book for one of your kids based on which category the tier 4s fall under. Or you may just say, nope, nothing above a 3 is appropriate or allowed. You get to make those decisions. We don't tell you what's appropriate for what age. That's up to you to make those decisions. So as a free account user, you have 1 free credit to request any book that you want to see. So you're at the library or at the bookstore or you're online and you're looking at books. There's one that you're really interested in, but you want to make sure that it's appropriate or content that you want to see. So you can go to request a book. You'll see you have 1 credit as a new user. Request the new book. So we'll go with one of my other books, Rattlesnake Rock by moi. All right, and then you don't have to fill out the why. The reason we have that in there, it's not required, but it helps us understand what kind of books people are looking for. If we get a ton of people saying, because my kid has been assigned this book in school, then we'll know to go look at school lists across the country and start focusing on those books first. There are so many books, and this is one of the problems that this system actually solves. There are millions and millions of books out there. So it's going to take us some time to add all of them into the system. So we want to add the ones you care about the most first. That's why we have this entire credit system, so that you can request books. But if you fill out the why, this will help us to see trends, to know what books to go look for first. So I'm going to hit submit, and then I am going to have another page open under admin. So I'm going to go and approve that request and fulfill that request. Okay, so let's go back to the requested book. It was listed as pending there. So let's reload this page. Oh, now it's completed. So you can track your pending requests. And this will always be in your account, whether you buy more credits later or you become a member. It doesn't matter. Any book that you've requested, you always will have access to. So let's go to my library and look. We have the samples here. Oh, look, there's the requested books. This is the one that we just requested. Let's open it. It's a tier 4. Okay, we see why. So now this is one of the important things that I want to note. Sex is a 4. So in your head, you might think, oh, it has some graphic sex scenes. Actually, this book does not. But it has some sexual abuse. It has some issues that are pretty mature in that way. Nothing is explicit. Like it says, no depictions of any of that stuff. But because of the kind of mature level of that type of content, it puts it into a 4. So reading this actually gives you that information. Wellness is because we have some alcohol use, we have some physical and mental abuse, so that's going to jump it up to a tier 4. And then violence, there are some fight scenes and other injuries that can be a little graphic, or because there's the abuse, they can cause a reaction, so we put it into a 4. So it is important, if you want more information, to actually click here. But if you choose to just say, nope, I'm never going to read anything that's a 4 or 5, you can see that here and make that decision quickly as well. So now this will always be in your library. So what if you decide you want to rate, you're not quite sure you want to be a member yet, but you want to request additional books. You can go in and purchase credits. So you can purchase 5 credits, 12 credits, or 25 credits. They never expire. They stay in your account forever. And any requests you make, those books stay in your account forever. And then because we don't want you to just keep spending on credits, as soon as you hit the level of one of our lowest membership, which is the 3-year full access membership, as soon as you spend that amount, it's actually $60. So as soon as you spend $60 in credits, we're automatically going to put you into the full membership 3-year category. Because we don't want to just keep taking your money when you've spent enough to be here anyway. And what does a membership do? Membership gives you full access to every book. So any book that any user has requested gets added to our library. And if you're a member, you have access to that. So before having to use a credit, you can go in and search and see if that's already in the library. And if it is, you'll have access to it as a member. All right, other features. We've got a feedback feature. We love to hear from you. We want to make this user-friendly. We want to make this a product that is very valuable to you. So we ask for your feedback. And then you can also deal with your account here. Email preferences, purchase history, settings, change password, all that there. So that's a basic overview of Bookrata and what you can do with a free account. So please sign in, check it out, go through the site, request a book, and if you love it, we would love your support. If you want more information about how memberships work, the advanced search functions, check out our other videos on our Bookrata page. Thanks for watching.